At exactly 2:17 in the morning, Kang Min-jae stopped his car outside his mansion. He had expected the quiet darkness of his private driveway. Instead, his headlights fell on a young black woman curled up beneath the large stone columns near his front entrance. She had no suitcase beside her, no umbrella, no blanket, just a small handbag pressed tightly against her chest as she slept on the cold ground of the most expensive house in Seoul. Min-jae stepped out his car. "Miss!" The woman suddenly opened her eyes. The moment she saw him, the color disappeared from her face. She scrambled to her feet. "Please, don't come near me." Min-jae froze. There was something strangely familiar about her. He looked at her carefully. She was young, beautiful, and clearly exhausted. Her natural black hair was loosely tied behind her head, and the thin coat around her shoulders did little to protect her from the cold. "Why are you sleeping outside my house?" he asked gently. She shook her head. "I made a mistake coming here." "You came here?" "Yes." "Why?" Her eyes filled with tears. But instead of answering, she picked up her bag and turned away. Min-jae took one step toward her. "Wait!" She stopped. Then she whispered something that left him completely confused. "I know who you are." He stared at her. "And that's exactly why I have to leave." She began walking away. Min-jae didn't understand. He was one of the most powerful businessmen in Seoul. People waited months just to meet him. Yet this woman had deliberately come to his mansion, slept outside his door, and now seemed terrified of being anywhere near him. He didn't know her name. He didn't know where she came from. And he certainly didn't know the truth she was carrying. Because the young woman running away from him that night was the same woman who, months earlier, had quietly captured his heart. And when Min-jae finally discovered why she had been running from him, he realized something that changed everything he believed about love. Tonight, we're following the emotional journey of Amara Okafor, a young Nigerian woman who arrives in Seoul hoping to build a better life. She never expects to meet Kang Min-jae, a wealthy Korean billionaire whose cold public image hides a lonely and deeply caring man. Their relationship begins unexpectedly. He notices her kindness before he notices her beauty. She sees a gentle man behind his intimidating reputation. Slowly, they become important to each other. But just when Min-jae is ready to admit that he has fallen deeply in love with her, Amara disappears from his life. Months later, he finds her sleeping outside his mansion. And this time, she refuses to tell him why she's there. What happened between them? Why did she leave? Why is she afraid to accept his love? And when Min-jae finally learns the truth, will their love survive? This is a story about love, trust, sacrifice, misunderstanding, and the courage to choose the person who truly sees your heart. Welcome to Afrokorea Seoul Stories, where beautiful African and Korean love stories come to life. If you enjoy emotional romance, unexpected relationships, powerful chemistry, touching moments, and stories that remind us that love can cross every boundary, you're in the right place. I'm Mary, and tonight's story is one you won't want to miss. So settle in, get comfortable, and let's begin. 6 months earlier, Amara Okafor stood at the entrance of a luxury hotel in central Seoul, staring through the glass doors. She had been standing there for almost 10 minutes. Not because she was admiring the beautiful interior. She was trying to gather enough courage to walk inside. The hotel was nothing like the small apartment she shared with another Nigerian woman. Everything looked expensive. The marble floor, the golden lights, the elegant furniture. Even the people walking through the lobby seemed to belong to a completely different world. Amara looked down at her simple black dress. She had ironed it 3 times that morning. It was the nicest dress she owned. She took a deep breath. "Just go inside," she whispered to herself. She walked through the doors. A receptionist looked up. "May I help you?" "Yes." Amara smiled nervously. "I have an interview." The receptionist checked her computer. "Name?" "Amara Okafor." A few seconds passed. "Yes." "The position is for a private event assistant." "Yes." "Please take the elevator to the 23rd floor." "Thank you." Amara smiled and walked away. She didn't know it yet, but that interview was about to change her entire life. 23 floors above the lobby, Kang Min-jae stood beside a large window. He was 32 years old, tall, handsome, always perfectly dressed. His dark hair was neatly styled, his expression calm, and his expensive watch reflected the morning sunlight. To most people, he was simply Kang Min-jae, the billionaire businessman who had built one of South Korea's fastest-growing luxury companies. But his employees knew something else. He was difficult to impress, extremely private, and almost impossible to read. His assistant, Ji-hoon, placed a folder on the desk. The final candidate is here. Min-jae didn't turn around. Send her in. A moment later, there was a knock. Come in. The door opened. Amara walked inside. She stopped when she saw him. For a second, she forgot what she had planned to say. Kang Min-jae looked even more intimidating in person. Good morning, she said. Min-jae turned. Good morning. Amara bowed slightly. My name is Amara Okafor. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. He gestured toward the chair. Sit. She sat. Min-jae opened her resume. You've worked in hospitality before? Yes. In Nigeria? Yes. And here in Seoul. Why did you leave your previous job? Amara hesitated. I wanted something more stable. Why? She smiled faintly. Because I want to build a life here. Min-jae looked at her. You intend to stay in Korea? If I'm given the opportunity. There was something about the way she said it. She wasn't begging. She wasn't trying to impress him. She simply sounded determined. Min-jae closed the resume. What makes you think you're suitable for this position? Amara thought for a moment. I'm good with people. Everyone says that. She smiled. I suppose that's true. For the first time, Min-jae noticed something unexpected. She wasn't nervous around him anymore. She was becoming comfortable. I also notice things, she continued. What things? When people need help but are too embarrassed to ask. Min-jae studied her. Give me an example. Amara looked toward the window. Yesterday, I saw an elderly woman struggling with several shopping bags outside the subway station. Nobody stopped because everyone was in a hurry. And you helped her? Yes. Why? Because she needed help. Min-jae leaned back. That simple. Yes. Something changed in his expression, very slightly. But Amara noticed. She was right. She really did notice things. And for reasons Min-jae couldn't explain, he found himself wanting to know more about her. The interview that was supposed to last 15 minutes lasted nearly an hour. By the end, Min-jae had asked questions that had nothing to do with the job. What did she like about Seoul? What food did she miss from Nigeria? What did she want to achieve? Did she have family nearby? Amara answered everything honestly, except one question. Are you seeing anyone? She looked at him in surprise. That isn't on my resume. Min-jae paused. For the first time that morning, he looked slightly embarrassed. No, it isn't. Amara smiled. No, I'm not seeing anyone. Min-jae nodded. Good. She raised an eyebrow. Good. He immediately looked back at the papers. I mean, good. That means you can focus on your work. Amara tried not to smile. Yes, sir. She stood. Thank you for your time. As she reached the door, Min-jae spoke. Amara. She turned. You're hired. Her eyes widened. Really? Yes. A beautiful smile appeared on her face. Thank you. She bowed. Then she left. Min-jae watched the door close. For several seconds, he remained completely still. Ji-hoon entered the room. You hired her? Yes. You didn't even ask for a second interview. I need one. Ji-hoon smiled. She's different. Min-jae looked toward the closed door. Yes. He didn't know how different she would become. He didn't know that within weeks, he would begin looking forward to seeing her every morning. He didn't know that her laughter would eventually become his favorite sound. And he certainly didn't know that one day he would stand outside his own mansion at 2 a.m, watching the woman he loved walk away from him. But for now, all he knew was one simple thing. He wanted to see her again. And that was where their love story truly began. Amara's first week working for Kang Min-jae was nothing like she expected. She had imagined long meetings, difficult clients, and endless instructions. She had not imagined the coffee. Every morning, when she arrived at the office, a cup of coffee was already waiting on her desk. At first, she thought it was a coincidence. The second morning, she ignored it. The third morning, she finally asked Ji-hoon, "Who keeps leaving coffee here?" Ji-hoon looked at the cup. "Mr. Kong." Amara blinked. "Mr. Kong?" "Yes." "Why?" Ji-hoon shrugged. "You'll have to ask him." Amara looked through the glass wall toward Min Jae's office. He was sitting behind his desk, reading a document. She walked toward him. She knocked. "Come in." She entered. "Sir." Min Jae looked up. "Yes. I wanted to ask you something." "Go ahead." "Why do you keep leaving coffee on my desk?" He stared at her for a moment. "You drink coffee." "Yes, but—" "You said you liked it." Amara smiled. "You remembered?" "Of course." There was a short silence. Then Min Jae returned to his documents. "You should drink it before it gets cold." Amara stood there for another second. "Thank you." She walked out. Min Jae waited until the door closed before allowing himself a small smile. He had no idea when it started. Maybe it was the way she greeted everyone in the office. Maybe it was the way she always noticed when someone was having a difficult day. Or maybe it was the way she smiled whenever she talked about Nigeria. Whatever the reason, he had begun looking for her without realizing it. One rainy evening, most of the employees had already gone home. Amara was still working. Min Jae walked past her desk. "You're still here?" She looked up. "I need to finish these files." "You can finish them tomorrow." "I know." "Then why are you still working?" She smiled. "Because tomorrow's work will still be waiting for me." He almost laughed. "You always have an answer." "Only when I'm right." Min Jae shook his head. "Come with me." "Where?" "Dinner." She stared at him. "Dinner?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because you're working late." "That doesn't explain why you're inviting me." He paused. "Because I'm hungry." Amara smiled. "And you need company?" "Apparently." She laughed softly. "Okay." The restaurant was elegant but quiet. Amara looked around. "This place is beautiful." Min Jae pulled out a chair for her. "Sit." She sat down. He took the seat opposite her. During dinner, they talked about things neither of them usually discussed with other people. Amara told him about growing up in Nigeria. She told him about her mother, who had always encouraged her to dream beyond what people expected of her. Min Jae listened carefully. When she finished, she asked about him. "My family?" "Yes." He looked down at his glass. "My father died when I was young." Amara's expression softened. "I'm sorry. My mother raised me." "Are you close to her?" "Yes." He smiled faintly. "She worries too much." Amara laughed. "That's what mothers do." Min Jae looked at her. "What about your mother?" "She worries too." "What does she worry about?" "That I will forget where I came from." "And will you?" Amara shook her head. "Never." Min Jae smiled. "I believe you." That night, something changed between them. It wasn't dramatic. There was no sudden confession, no grand declaration. Just two people sitting across a dinner table, slowly discovering how comfortable they felt in each other's presence. Over the next few weeks, Min Jae found more reasons to be around Amara. He asked for her opinion during meetings. He started inviting her to company events. Sometimes, he would simply walk past her desk and ask, "Have you eaten?" And if she said no, he would quietly arrange lunch. Amara began teasing him about it. "You know, you're not as cold as people think." Min Jae looked at her. "Don't tell anyone." She laughed. "Your secret is safe." One afternoon, Amara accidentally spilled coffee on a stack of important documents. She immediately panicked. "Oh no." Min Jae looked at the papers. Then at her. "Are you okay?" She blinked. "The documents? They could be printed again." "But—" "Amara." She looked up. "You're more important than a few papers." She became completely silent. Min Jae realized what he had said. He cleared his throat. "I mean, you're an employee. Employees are difficult to replace." Amara smiled. "That's not what you meant." He looked away. "No." She smiled again. "I know." The first person to notice what was happening between them was Min Jae's mother. Her name was Madame Khan Hygiene. She had a gentle personality and had always wanted her son to find someone who would love him for himself rather than his wealth. One Saturday afternoon, she visited the company unexpectedly. She saw Amara helping one of the staff members. "Excuse me," Hygiene said. Amara turned. "Yes, ma'am." "You're Amara, aren't you?" Amara looked surprised. "Yes. I've heard about you." Amara glanced toward Min Jae's office. "From Mr. Khan?" Hygiene smiled. "Quite a lot." Amara became embarrassed. "Oh." Hygiene noticed immediately. Her son's eyes were different whenever he spoke about this woman. She smiled. "Would you have dinner with me sometime?" Amara hesitated. "I wouldn't want to impose." "You wouldn't?" So they arranged dinner. And that evening, Hygiene discovered exactly why her son had become so interested in Amara. Amara wasn't impressed by wealth. She wasn't trying to enter the Kong family. She didn't even seem particularly interested in Min Jae's money. She simply cared about people. Hygiene liked her. Very much. But not everyone in the family felt the same way. A few days later, Min Jae's older aunt Madame Soo-jin saw Amara leaving his office. She watched silently. Later that evening, she confronted Min Jae. "Who is she?" "Who?" "The Nigerian woman." Min Jae's expression changed. "Her name is Amara. Why is she always around you?" "She works for me." Soo-jin stared at him. "Don't make a mistake because you're lonely." Min Jae's voice became calm. "What mistake?" "You know what I mean." "No, I don't." "She is from a completely different world." Min Jae stood. "And you are the heir to this family." "I know." "Then behave like it." Min Jae looked at her. "I've spent my entire life behaving the way everyone expected me to." He paused. "For once, I want to decide something for myself." Soo-jin shook her head. "You'll regret this." Min Jae didn't answer. But that night, when he arrived home, he found himself thinking about Amara, not because of what his aunt had said, but because he realized something. He was no longer simply interested in her. He was falling in love. The next morning, Min Jae arrived at the office earlier than usual. Amara was already there. She looked up. "You're early." "So are you." "I couldn't sleep." "Why?" She hesitated. "I was thinking." "About?" She smiled. "Something you said yesterday." "What did I say?" "That I'm more important than documents." Min Jae froze. Amara laughed. "You shouldn't say things like that if you don't want people to remember them." He walked closer. "I don't mind you remembering." Her smile slowly disappeared. They stood looking at each other. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Min Jae quietly said, "Amara?" "Yes." "There's something I've been wanting to tell you." Her heart began beating faster. But before he could continue, his phone rang. He glanced at the screen. His mother's name appeared. He answered. "Mother?" Her voice sounded unusually serious. "Min Jae, I need you to come home." "Why?" "There's something you need to know." He frowned. "What is it?" There was a long pause. Then she said, "It concerns Amara." Min Jae's expression changed. He looked across the room at Amara. She had no idea that, only a few days later, something would happen that would completely change the way she saw him. And months after that, it would be the reason she would run from his love. But neither of them knew it yet. For now, they were simply two people standing at the beginning of a love story neither had expected. And neither was ready for how deeply their hearts were already becoming connected. Min Jae stared at his phone after the call ended. His mother's words kept repeating in his mind. "It concerns Amara." He turned toward her. She was still standing beside his desk, watching him carefully. "Is everything okay?" she asked. Min Jae forced a calm expression. "My mother wants to see me." "Is she all right?" "I think so." He hesitated. "Did she say anything to you?" Amara shook her head. "No." Min Jae nodded. "I'll be back later." As he walked away, Amara watched him disappear into the elevator. She couldn't explain why, but something about the call made her uneasy. When Min Jae arrived at his mother's house, Hygiene was waiting in the living room. She looked serious. What happened? His mother gestured toward the sofa. Sit. Min Jae sat. Hygiene placed an old photograph on the table. Min Jae picked it up. His eyes widened. It was a photograph of a young Nigerian woman standing beside his father. He looked at his mother. Who is she? Hygiene took a slow breath. Her name was Grace Okafor. Min Jae stared at the photograph. Okafor? Yes. His heart began beating faster. Amara's surname is Okafor. I know. He looked at the photograph again. Who was Grace? Hygiene's eyes became emotional. Your father met her many years ago during a business trip to Lagos. Min Jae listened carefully. They became very close friends, she continued. She helped him when he was going through a difficult period in his life. Did they have a relationship? No. Hygiene shook her head. They were friends. Very close friends. Min Jae looked confused. Then why are you telling me this? Because before Grace died, she asked your father to promise something. What? That if her daughter ever came to Korea, he would help her. Min Jae slowly lowered the photograph. Her daughter? Hygiene nodded. Amara. Silence filled the room. Min Jae stared at his mother. Amara is Grace's daughter? Yes. He stood abruptly. Does she know? No. Why not? Because Grace never wanted her daughter to feel as though she owed anything to your family. Min Jae walked toward the window. Everything suddenly made sense. The reason Amara had wanted to build a life in Korea. The reason she had mentioned her mother so often. The reason Hygiene had recognized her name. But one question remained. Why didn't you tell me before? I wasn't certain at first. Mother, I want to confirm everything before saying anything. Min Jae turned around. Does Amara have any idea about my father? No. He was silent. Then he asked quietly, what am I supposed to do? Hygiene looked at her son. Nothing. Nothing. Let her live her life. Min Jae nodded slowly. But there was another problem. He had already fallen in love with her. The following morning, Amara noticed immediately that something had changed. Min Jae was quieter than usual. He still greeted her. He still asked whether she had eaten. But something was different. He seemed distracted. Finally, she walked into his office. Did I do something wrong? Min Jae looked up. No. Then why are you avoiding me? I am not avoiding you. You are. He sighed. Amara? She sat down. Tell me? He looked at her for several seconds. There were so many things he wanted to say. Instead, he asked, did your mother ever tell you about coming to Korea? Amara's expression changed. My mother? Yes. She told me she wanted friends here. Did she mention my father? Amara frowned. Your father? Yes. She shook her head. No. Why? Min Jae looked away. Just curious. Amara studied him. You're hiding something. I know. Her eyes widened. He almost smiled. You caught me. What are you hiding? Something I need time to understand. She stood. Then take your time. She reached the door. Amara. She turned. I don't want you to think I've changed toward you. She smiled gently. I don't. But she did. She could feel it. And she didn't understand why. Several days passed. Min Jae tried to behave normally. But the secret about Amara's mother continued to weigh on him. Meanwhile, Amara began noticing another change. Min Jae had started looking at her differently. Not with suspicion. Not with distance. With something much deeper. One evening, they were alone in the office. Rain tapped softly against the windows. Amara was arranging some documents when Min Jae approached. Are you going home? In a few minutes. Can I walk you? She smiled. You don't have to. I know. They took the elevator together. When they reached the lobby, Min Jae held an umbrella over her. The rain was heavy. Amara looked at him. You know, you're very different from the man everyone describes. What do they say about me? That you're cold. And you disagree? She smiled. Completely. He looked at her. Why? Because I've seen the way you treat people when nobody is watching. Min Jae became quiet. Amara? Yes. I need to tell you something. She waited, but once again he couldn't do it. Not yet. Instead, he said, you should be careful about trusting people. She frowned. Why are you telling me that? Because sometimes people don't tell us everything. Amara looked into his eyes. Are you one of those people? Min Jae couldn't answer. That silence hurt her more than any words could have. She stepped away. Good night, Mr. Kong. Amara. But she had already walked away. The next week, something unexpected happened. Amara received a letter from Nigeria. It was from an old family friend. Inside was a photograph of her mother. Behind the photograph was a handwritten note. There are things your mother never told you about Korea. Amara read the sentence again. Her heart raced. She called the number on the letter. The woman who answered sounded elderly. Amara? Yes. Who is this? My name is Mrs. Adeyemi. I was your mother's closest friend. Amara sat down. What did you mean when you said my mother kept secrets about Korea? The woman was silent for several seconds. Your mother loved you very much. I know. She wanted you to have a peaceful life. Please tell me. Another pause. Your mother once told me that if you ever went to Korea, you should stay away from the Kong family. Amara's face went pale. The Kong family? Yes. Why? I don't know everything. Then what do you know? She said there was a misunderstanding between her and a powerful Korean family many years ago. Amara's mind immediately went to Min Jae. She remembered his strange questions, his mother's sudden interest in her, the old photograph, the way he had become distant. Suddenly, everything felt connected. That evening, Amara went to see Hygiene. She needed answers. When Hygiene opened the door and saw her, she immediately knew something was wrong. Amara? Did you know my mother? Hygiene froze. For several seconds, neither woman spoke. Then Hygiene slowly nodded. Yes. Amara's eyes filled with tears. Why didn't anyone tell me? I wanted to. When? I was waiting for the right time. Amara shook her head. There is no right time for someone to discover that the people around her know things about her own mother that she doesn't. Hygiene reached for her hand. I'm sorry. Did your husband know my mother? Yes. Were they close? Yes. Amara looked down. What happened between them? Nothing romantic. Then why did my mother tell people to stay away from your family? Hygiene's eyes became sad. Because she misunderstood something. What? She believed your mother had been forgotten. Amara frowned. What does that mean? Hygiene took a breath. Your mother once needed help. Your father, Min Jae's father, promised to help her, but circumstances separated them before he could keep that promise. Amara's eyes filled with tears. So she thought he abandoned her? Yes. But he didn't? No. Hygiene gently squeezed her hand. He spent years trying to find her. Amara became silent. Then another realization hit her. Does Min Jae know? Hygiene didn't answer. She didn't need to. Amara understood. He knows. Yes. And he didn't tell me. Hygiene looked at her. He was afraid of hurting you. Amara stood. He should have trusted me. She walked toward the door. Amara, please. She stopped. I need time. Then she left. That night, Min Jae found Amara waiting outside his apartment building. He immediately walked toward her. Amara? She looked at him. You knew. He stopped. Knew what? About my mother. His silence answered everything. Amara's eyes filled with tears. Why didn't you tell me? I was trying to protect you. From what? From the pain. She shook her head. You don't get to decide what I can handle. I know. Then why did you? Min Jae lowered his eyes. Because I was afraid. Afraid of what? He looked at her. Losing you. Her expression softened for a moment, but then she remembered everything. You should have trusted me. I should have. They stood silently. Then Min Jae stepped closer. Amara, there's something else. She looked at him. I've been trying to find the right way to say it. He took a breath. I love you. Amara's eyes widened. I have for a while. She looked away. I can't. Why? Because everything between us is suddenly connected to our families. It doesn't have to be. It does for me. She stepped back. I need time. Min Jae nodded. I'll give you time. Amara walked away. He didn't follow. He respected her decision. But neither of them knew that the distance between them would soon become much greater. Because the next morning, Amara received a message that would make her believe Min Jae had never truly loved her at all. And that message would be the reason she would eventually disappear from his life. Only months later would Min Jae discover the truth. And when he finally did, he would understand why the woman he loved had been sleeping outside his mansion, too afraid to come to the front door. The next morning, Amara woke up with one thought on her mind. Min Jae had told her he loved her. She had wanted to hear those words. For weeks, she had wondered whether the feelings between them existed only in her imagination. Now she knew he loved her, and yet, instead of feeling happy, she felt frightened. Too many questions remained unanswered. Why had his family known her mother? Why had her mother warned her about the Kong family? And why had Min Jae kept the truth from her? Amara reached for her phone. There was a new message. The sender was unknown. She opened it. Her heart immediately sank. Attached was a photograph of Min Jae standing beside his aunt, Soo-jin. Underneath it were several words. Don't believe his confession. His family already made a decision about you. Amara stared at the screen. Another message arrived. He was never planning to make you his wife. He only wanted to keep you close because of your mother's connection to his family. She read it again, then again. Her hands began to tremble. She didn't want to believe it, but there was something about the timing that frightened her. Min Jae had known about her mother. His family had known about her, and he had waited until after discovering the family connection to tell her he loved her. Could it all have been planned? Amara closed her eyes. No. She whispered the word as though saying it could make the message disappear. Her phone rang. It was Min Jae. She watched his name appear on the screen. She couldn't answer. The phone stopped. A moment later, another message appeared. Asked him what his family promised him if he married the woman they chose for him. Amara's heart raced. There was someone else? She immediately called the number that had sent the messages. No answer. Again, nothing. She sat on the edge of her bed, confused and heartbroken. She wanted to ask Min Jae, but she was afraid of the answer. At the office, Min Jae noticed something was wrong the moment Amara arrived. She walked past him without smiling. Amara... She stopped. Yes. Can we talk? I have work. Just 5 minutes. She looked at him. About what? About last night. Her eyes softened for a second. Then she remembered the message. I don't think there's anything to discuss. Why? Because you said what you wanted to say. And you? I need time. I understand. She nodded. Good. She turned away. Min Jae watched her walk toward her desk. He had never felt so helpless. He wanted to tell her everything, but he still didn't know who had sent the message, and he didn't want to accuse anyone without proof. That afternoon, Min Jae received a call from his aunt. Come home. I have work. This is important. He reluctantly agreed. When he arrived, Soo-jin was waiting with another woman. She was elegant, well-dressed, and clearly from a wealthy family. Min Jae, Soo-jin said, This is Han Seo-yeon. Min Jae looked at her. I know who she is. Seo-yeon smiled. It's been a long time. Min Jae nodded politely. Why am I here? Soo-jin folded her hands. We want you to consider a marriage arrangement. Min Jae's expression hardened. No, you haven't even heard the proposal. I don't need to. Seo-yeon looked uncomfortable. Soo-jin sighed. Your family needs stability. My company is stable. This isn't about the company. Then what is it about? Your future. Min Jae stood. My future is mine. Soo-jin looked at him. And what about Amara? He froze. What about her? You cannot seriously think that relationship has a future. Min Jae's voice became calm. I do. Soo-jin shook her head. You're letting emotions control you. Maybe. He looked directly at her. but at least they're my emotions. He left. What Min-jae didn't know was that someone had been listening from the hallway. So-yeon, she had heard everything. She wasn't angry. She was sad, because she had known for some time that Min-jae didn't love her. She also knew something he didn't. Someone had been deliberately creating misunderstandings between Min-jae and Amara, but she didn't yet know who. That evening, Amara sat alone in a small cafe. She had barely touched her drink. She kept looking at the message. Eventually, she decided to ask Min-jae directly. She called him. Hello. His voice immediately softened. Amara, can I see you? Of course. Tonight. I'll come to you. No. She hesitated. I'll meet you. They agreed on a quiet park near the Han River. When Min-jae arrived, Amara was standing beneath a streetlight. He approached slowly. You look tired. So, do you? He smiled faintly. I've been worried about you. She looked away. Min-jae, I need you to answer one question honestly. Anything. Are you planning to marry someone else? He stared at her. What? Just answer. No. Your family isn't arranging something? He paused. My aunt wants me to marry someone. Amara's heart sank. But you? I refused. She looked at him. Why? Because I love you. Her eyes filled with tears. Then why didn't you tell me? I didn't think it mattered. It matters to me. I should have told you. Yes. He stepped closer. Amara, I would never ask you to compete with anyone. She looked at him. Then what am I to you? Min-jae didn't hesitate. The woman I want to build my life with. Her lips trembled. For a moment, she wanted to believe him. She wanted to forget the messages. She wanted to step into his arms. But fear held her back. What if your family never accepts me? I'll handle it. What if they make you choose? I've already chosen. She looked at him. Me? Yes. A tear rolled down her cheek. Min-jae gently wiped it away. I don't care where you were born, he whispered. I don't care about your mother's past. I care about you. Amara closed her eyes. For a moment, everything felt right. Then her phone vibrated. Another message. She looked down. A photograph appeared. It showed Min-jae's aunt speaking privately with Amara's landlord. The message underneath said, Ask yourself why your apartment lease is suddenly being terminated. Amara's heart stopped. She looked at Min-jae. Did you do this? His expression changed. Do what? My landlord is asking me to leave. What? He says your family contacted him. Min-jae immediately shook his head. I didn't. Your aunt? I don't know. She stepped backward. I can't do this anymore. Amara, wait. I need to go. Please. She shook her head. You keep telling me you love me, but everywhere I turn, your family is changing my life. Then let me fix it. I don't want you to fix it. She looked at him through her tears. I want to know that I can stand beside you without losing myself. Min-jae had no answer. Amara walked away. That night, she packed her belongings. There wasn't much. A few clothes, some books, her mother's photograph, and a small necklace her mother had given her before she left Nigeria. She looked around the apartment. She had spent months building a life in Seoul. Now she wasn't sure where she belonged. Her phone rang. It was Min-jae. She didn't answer. He called again. She turned the phone face down. Then she picked up her mother's photograph. Mom, she whispered. What really happened? She noticed something behind the photograph. A small folded piece of paper. She had never seen it before. She opened it. There was handwriting she immediately recognized. Her mother's handwriting. Only one sentence was written. If you ever meet the Kong family, remember that your mother never stopped loving the man who helped us. Amara's breath caught. She read it again. Then she noticed something else. At the bottom of the page was a name. Kong Taehyun, Min-jae's father. Amara sat down. Suddenly, she realized a story she had been told about her mother might have been incomplete. Maybe her mother hadn't hated the Kong family. Maybe she had loved them. Maybe the entire misunderstanding had been built on something neither Amara nor Min-jae understood. And somewhere in Seoul, There was someone who knew the truth. The next morning, Amara went to the office, but she didn't go to Min Jae. She went directly to his assistant. Ji-hoon, I need to ask you something. He looked concerned. What happened? Did Mr. Kong ever ask you to contact my landlord? Ji-hoon's eyes widened. No. Are you sure? Absolutely. Amara breathed out. Then someone is lying. Ji-hoon looked at her. Amara, what is going on? She showed him the messages. His expression changed. These aren't from Mr. Kong. I know. Then someone is trying to make you believe he doesn't love you. Amara looked toward Min Jae's office. Through the glass, she could see him sitting alone. He looked exhausted. And suddenly she realized something. She had been so afraid of losing him that she hadn't stopped to ask who wanted them separated. She turned back to Ji-hoon. I need your help. With what? I want to find out who sent these messages. Ji-hoon nodded. I'll help. But neither of them knew that the answer was much closer than they imagined, and the person behind the misunderstanding had been watching their relationship from the very beginning. Someone who knew exactly how much Min Jae loved Amara, and exactly what would happen if Amara discovered the truth. For the first time, Amara made a decision. She would not run. She would find the truth. And if Min Jae had truly been honest with her, she would finally tell him what her heart had been too afraid to say. She loved him too. Amara spent the entire morning trying to concentrate on her work. She couldn't. Every few minutes, she looked at her phone. No new messages. No explanation. Only the same questions remained in her mind. Who was trying to separate her from Min Jae? And why? Ji-hoon had promised to investigate quietly, but Amara didn't want to wait. She needed answers. So during lunch, she walked into Min Jae's office. He looked up immediately. Amara. She closed the door behind her. I need to ask you something. Anything. Do you know someone named Han Seo-yeon? Min Jae became still. Yes. Who is she? My aunt introduced us. For marriage? Yes. Amara swallowed. Do you have feeling for her? No. Did you ever? No. She nodded slowly. Then why is she involved in your family? She isn't involved with me. Are you sure? Yes. Amara looked at him for a long moment. I've been receiving messages. What kind? Messages telling me that you don't really love me. His expression hardened. Show me. She handed him her phone. He read the messages one by one. His face became increasingly serious. I didn't send these. I know. Have you shown Ji-hoon? Yes. What did he say? He believes someone is trying to separate us. Min Jae looked at her. Then don't face us alone. Amara's eyes softened. You still want me to trust you? I never stop wanting that. She looked down. I want to. Then let me earn it. There was something sincere in his voice. Amara slowly nodded. Okay. For the first time in weeks, they stood close without fear between them. Min Jae reached for her hand. She allowed him to hold it. I missed this, he whispered. What? Being close to you. Amara smiled sadly. Me too. That evening, Ji-hoon discovered something. He entered Min Jae's office with a folder. We found the phone number. Min Jae looked up. Who owns it? That's the strange part. Ji-hoon placed a report on the desk. The number was registered under a temporary account. It was activated only recently. Can you trace the person? We're trying. Amara looked at the report. Could it be someone from your family? Min Jae shook his head. I don't know. Ji-hoon hesitated. There is one thing. What? The messages were sent from around the same area several times. Where? Near your aunt's office. Amara's expression changed. Min Jae immediately stood. I'll speak to her. No, Amara said. He looked at her. Why? Because if she's involved, confronting her won't give us the truth. Ji-hoon nodded. She has a point. Min Jae sat down again. So, what do we do? Amara looked at the report. We wait. The following afternoon, something unexpected happened. Seo-yeon came to see Amara. She found her sitting alone in a quiet cafe. May I sit? Amara looked up. Of course. Seo-yeon sat opposite her. I know this is strange. A little. I heard you've been receiving messages. Amara immediately became cautious. How do you know? Seo-yeon smiled sadly. Because I've been receiving them too. Amara's eyes widened. What? Seo-yeon took out her phone. She showed Amara several messages. The first said, Min Jae will never choose you. Another, if you care about him, walk away. Amara stared at the screen. Why would someone send these to you? I don't know. Seo-yeon put the phone away. But I realized something. What? Someone wants both of us to believe that Min Jae is choosing the other woman. Amara sat quietly. Seo-yeon continued. I don't love him. Amara looked surprised. You don't? No. Then why did your family suggest marriage? Because our families are close. Seo-yeon smiled. But love isn't something families can arrange. Amara lowered her eyes. I thought you wanted him. I wanted him to be happy. She paused. And I think that makes you the person he wants. Amara's eyes became emotional. Why are you telling me this? Because I don't want to be part of a lie. Seo-yeon stood. Don't let fear make your decision for you. Then she left. Amara watched her walk away. For the first time, she realized that perhaps the problem wasn't Seo-yeon. Someone else was creating the misunderstanding. That evening, Amara went to Min Jae's mansion. She stood outside the gate for several minutes. She almost turned around. Then she remembered what he had told her. Let me earn your trust. She pressed the intercom. A security guard answered. Who is it? Amara Okafor. The gate opened. She walked inside. Min Jae was waiting for her. When he saw her, his expression immediately softened. You came. Yes. Are you okay? I think so. He stepped closer. What happened? I met Seo-yeon. Min Jae looked surprised. What did she say? She doesn't love you. He smiled faintly. I know. She showed me the messages she's been receiving. His smile disappeared. So someone has been doing this to both of you. Yes. Min Jae looked toward the window. Then we need to find out who. Amara nodded. But she had come for another reason. Min Jae. Yes. I owe you an apology. For what? For believing those messages before believing you. He shook his head. You had every reason to be confused. No. She looked into his eyes. I was scared. Of me? Of losing myself. He understood. I don't want you to lose yourself. Then promise me something. What? Don't protect me by hiding the truth from me. He nodded. I promise. Amara smiled. And I promise something too. What? I won't run away without talking to you first. Min Jae smiled. That's enough. He gently took her hand. This time, she didn't pull away. A few days later, they discovered something important. Ji-hoon found that the temporary phone account had been connected to a private assistant who worked for Min Jae's aunt. Min Jae immediately confronted his aunt. Did you send those messages? Soo-jin looked shocked. No. Your assistant's account was involved. I had no idea. Then why was she doing it? Soo-jin called the assistant. The woman arrived later that afternoon. When questioned, she finally admitted the truth. She had been sending the messages, but she wasn't doing it because she hated Amara. She had believed she was protecting Min Jae. Soo-jin had repeatedly complained that Amara would damage the family's reputation. The assistant had taken those conversations too seriously and decided to frighten Amara into leaving. Soo-jin was stunned. I never asked you to do that. I know, the woman said. I thought I was helping you. Soo-jin looked at Min Jae. I never wanted this. Min Jae's expression remained calm. You created fear around someone I love. His aunt lowered her eyes. I was wrong. For the first time, she looked genuinely regretful. She turned toward Amara. I owe you an apology. Amara nodded. Thank you. Soo-jin looked at her. You're different from what I expected. Amara smiled faintly. So, is your nephew? Min Jae looked at her. She smiled. Much softer than he looks. He laughed quietly. His aunt noticed the way they looked at each other. She finally understood. There was no arrangement she could create that would change what already existed between them. That night, Min-jae took Amara to his mother's house. Hyejin was waiting. When she saw them holding hands, tears appeared in her eyes. I knew you would find your way back to each other. Amara smiled. Thank you for believing in us. Hyejin walked toward her. There's one more thing you need to know. Amara's expression changed. What? Hyejin brought out an old box. Inside was a collection of letters, all written by Amara's mother. Amara carefully picked up the first one. Her hands trembled. She wrote these? Yes. To my father? Hyejin nodded. Your mother and Min-jae's father remained friends until the end. Amara opened the first letter. She read it silently. Then tears filled her eyes. Her mother had written about forgiveness, about gratitude, about how she never wanted Amara to carry the burden of an old misunderstanding. At the bottom of the letter was one sentence. If my daughter ever meets your son, I hope she knows that love should never be judged by where two people come from. Amara covered her mouth. Min-jae gently placed his hand over hers. She looked at him. I think our mothers knew us before we ever met. He smiled. Maybe they did. Later that evening, Min-jae walked Amara to the garden. The lights around the mansion were glowing softly. She looked around. This place feels different tonight. How? Less frightening. He smiled. Good. They stopped beside the fountain. Min-jae looked at her. Amara. Yes. I don't want to rush you. She waited. I don't need you to marry me tomorrow. I don't need you to promise me forever tonight. He took her hand. I only want one thing. What? Choose me when you're ready. Amara's eyes filled with tears. I already did. Min-jae smiled. Then I have another question. She laughed softly. What? Can I kiss you? She looked at him. You're asking permission? Yes. She smiled. Then yes. He leaned closer. Their first kiss was gentle and unhurried. No grand audience. No cameras. No family. Just two people who had spent weeks afraid of losing each other. When they finally pulled apart, Amara rested her forehead against his. I love you. Min-jae smiled. I love you too. For the first time, Amara felt completely safe. But their story wasn't finished. Because several weeks later, Amara would discover that Min-jae had a surprise waiting for her. And that surprise would take her back to the very place where their story had begun. The entrance of his mansion. Only this time, she wouldn't be sleeping outside. She would be standing beside the man she loved. And she still had no idea what he was about to ask her. 3 weeks passed. For the first time since arriving in Seoul, Amara felt that her life was beginning to settle. She had moved into a new apartment. Her relationship with Min-jae was no longer a secret. His mother welcomed her warmly. Even his aunt, Soo-jin, had become noticeably kinder. But there was one thing Amara still didn't understand. Why did Min-jae keep asking her strange questions? What's your favorite flower? Why? Just answer. Roses. What kind of music do you like? Why are you asking me all these questions? He smiled. You'll see. One evening, he picked her up after work. Where are we going? You'll see. You've been saying that a lot lately. I know. She laughed. You're becoming mysterious. I learned from you. The car stopped outside Min-jae's mansion. Amara looked through the window. Why are we here? Come. He opened the door for her. She stepped out. The mansion looked exactly as she remembered it. But something felt different. The entrance was beautifully decorated with flowers and warm lights. Amara looked at him. What is happening? Just come inside. She followed him. When the doors opened, she stopped. His mother was standing there. Ji-hoon was there. Several members of the household staff were there. And on the wall was a large photograph. It was a picture of Amara's mother and Min-jae's father from many years ago. Amara covered her mouth. What is this? Hyejin smiled. Your mother was once welcomed into this house. She took Amara's hand. And tonight, we want you to know that you are welcome too. Tears immediately filled Amara's eyes. She looked at Min-jae. He was standing quietly behind his mother. He walked toward her. When I first met you, he said, I thought you were simply a woman who had come to Seoul looking for an opportunity. He smiled. Then you became my friend. He paused. Then the person I looked forward to seeing every morning. Another pause. And eventually, he reached for her hand. The person I couldn't imagine my future without. Amara was crying now. Min Jae gently wiped away one tear. I don't want you to ever feel like you have to stand outside my life. He looked toward the mansion doors. I want you inside it. Amara looked at him. What are you saying? He smiled. I'm saying that this isn't just my home anymore. He took a breath. If you want it, he held out his hand. I want it to be ours. Amara stared at him. She couldn't speak. Hygiene smiled through her own tears. Say something, Amara. Amara laughed through her tears. I don't know what to say. Min Jae smiled. Then say yes. She looked at him. Yes. He pulled her gently into his arms. Everyone applauded. Amara buried her face against his chest. For months, she had believed that she didn't belong anywhere. Now, standing inside the home of the man she loved, she finally felt she had found somewhere she could call home. Later that night, Min Jae took her outside. The garden was quiet. Moonlight rested over the trees. Amara looked at him. You planned all of this? Yes. You even asked about my favorite flower. Yes. She smiled. You're impossible. I know. She leaned against him. Thank you. For what? For giving me a place where I don't have to be afraid. Min Jae looked down at her. You were never something I needed to protect. He gently touched her cheek. You were someone I needed to trust. She smiled. And now I trust you completely. Several months later, Amara stood outside the same mansion entrance where Min Jae had first found her. But this time, she wasn't lying on the cold ground. She was wearing a beautiful cream-colored dress. Her hair was styled naturally, with soft curls framing her face. Min Jae stood beside her. He looked at the place where they had first met. You know what I remember? Amara smiled. What? The first time I saw you. You looked terrified. Why? Because I thought you were going to leave. She laughed. You were the billionaire. I was the one sleeping outside your house. I know. He smiled. But I didn't understand why you were running from me. Amara looked at him. And now I know. He took her hand. You were running because you were afraid that loving me would cost you your freedom. She nodded. And you taught me something. What? That real love doesn't ask you to become smaller. He kissed her forehead. It gives you room to become more of yourself. Amara smiled. That's why I stopped running. The following morning, something even more beautiful happened. Min Jae took Amara to a quiet garden overlooking Seoul. A small table had been prepared. There were flowers, a breakfast she loved, and a small box. Amara looked at it. What is that? You'll see. She opened it. Inside was a simple, elegant ring. Her eyes widened. She looked at him. Min Jae. He took her hand. I know our story hasn't been perfect. No, we misunderstood each other. Yes, we were afraid. Very afraid. He smiled. But every time we had a choice. He paused. We chose each other. Amara's eyes filled with tears. So I'm asking you to make one more choice. He lowered himself onto one knee. Amara Okafor. She covered her mouth. Will you marry me? For several seconds, she couldn't speak. Then she laughed through her tears. Yes. Min Jae stood. She threw her arms around him. They held each other as the morning sun rose over Seoul. 1 year later, the entrance of the Kong mansion was filled with flowers. Family members and friends gathered for a beautiful wedding ceremony. Amara walked slowly toward Min Jae. He couldn't take his eyes off her. When she reached him, he whispered, You're beautiful. She smiled. You've said that every day. I'll keep saying it. They exchanged their vows. Not promises about wealth. Not promises about status. Promises about listening, respecting, choosing each other, and loving each other through every season of life. When the ceremony ended, Amara looked toward the mansion, the same house where she had once slept outside, because she was afraid to enter. She smiled. Min-jae noticed. What are you thinking? She looked at him. I was just remembering the first night. The night I found you outside? Yes. He smiled. You never told me what you were thinking. Amara laughed. I was thinking that the richest man in Seoul would never understand a woman like me. And now, she stepped closer. Now I know I was wrong. How? Because you understood my heart before I understood yours. He smiled. Then he took her hand. Come home. Amara looked at him. She smiled. I am home. And together, they walked through the mansion doors. This time, Amara didn't look back, because she had finally learned that sometimes the place where your story begins is not the place where your story ends. Sometimes, it is simply the door that leads you to the love you were never expecting to find.